So you want to win your Fate Reforged pre-release. You want to win this non-competitive event? Well, you're just like me. So here's your guide to winning your Fate Reforged pre-release, official guide to dominating Dominaria. So I do one of these pre-release preps like every pre-release. They're all 80% the same, but I realize we pick up thousands of new subscribers in between each and every one. And so I try to go through it over each time with a little bit of flavor for that particular set. Again, this is a part of a playlist, so please, if you want to be ready to dominate, watch all the videos in the playlist, and I feel confident that you'll be ready to rock come this weekend. So there's a quote by Bobby Unser, who I don't like using quotes, but it's just so good. Success is where preparation and opportunity meet. And that is so true in Magic, especially sealed and limited format, because you can prepare as much as you possibly can, but there still needs to be opportunity. And with sealed, the real opportunity is in what cards you actually open. But let's talk about some of the things I mentioned here. So I like to pre-sleeve lands when I can, 10 of each. So basically, if you have 10 of each land, that's 50 sleeves, and you're going to need another, let's say 20 to 25 for your deck and possible sideboard. So I like to put aside 100 sleeves, sleeve all my lands, be ready to go. I can't tell you how precious that deck building time is at pre-release. And I'm not a slow deck builder. If you've watched me on stream at twitch.tv/MTG headquarters, go over there and follow now so you can hang out with me on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. I build decks very quickly. But because of pre-release, because you're going to be reading a lot of cards, because there's a lot going on around you, people are talking to you, people are talking about their pulls, every minute counts. And you don't want to be up against it. I want to have my deck built 5 minutes before the end of it so I can go just veg or think about it and kind of unplug. Nothing worse than just cramming your deck together, not having time to sleeve it, and then having to jump right into competitive play. If you can also, so this is Kanzatar Cure Black kind of specific, is I think I'm going to bring a couple morph tokens with me, just to make life easier on me and my opponent. The other thing you can do is make sure you take time to understand the set's mechanics. I made a video on that. Check it out. The other thing you can do is learn the card sets. Guys like Roxabox and 90 and Mr. Lubufu do great kind of full set overviews by color. I think both of them are excellent Magic players, and their takes on cards are far better than my own. Some old guy tech for you here. But in my experience, this stuff really does matter. I've played competitive, like strategy games my whole life, from competitive chess into Magic and things like that. And getting enough sleep the day before, while isn't always possible, is a benefit. Eating healthy. Obviously, the beard is not a healthy eater. But on days of big competition, I like to just eat something like light or like a sub sandwich and not too close to game time. I know this seems like a weird thing to say, but this is just something over the years that I've done. You don't want to have like a big meal in your gut when you're trying to make decisions and make plays. You get tired, you get more easily distracted. This is just my experience. I don't know if there's any science to match it, but maybe it's a superstition. Take that for what it is, right? I like to bring snacks, water, soda. Make sure you bring dice, enough to put counters on things. A 20-sided, yes, if you don't have dice, you don't have to go run out and buy them. But if you do, make sure you bring them, because it just makes life so much easier. Pen and pencil, piece of paper, so you can keep your life total. If you use your smartphone, that's fine. But you're there for a long time. Some pre-releases last 7-8 hours or more. My midnight pre-release usually starts at midnight, and I usually don't get home till 6 in the morning. So that's 6 hours. So if you think you eat dinner at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, you're going 12 hours between meals. So you want to bring snacks, or if you bring a sandwich or something, or if there's food available, that's great. But staying hydrated and keeping your appetite under control does help you make better decisions. That is a fact. I know a lot of people are afraid to touch on this, or they feel like, oh, I'm too good to talk about it. I'm here to tell you that I don't care. Look, take a shower before you come to pre-release. Put on freaking clean clothes. Put on a belt so your butt crack's not hanging out. These are things your mother has told you, and now the beard is telling you. Perception is reality, and slowly but surely, we need to change this perception that we're all like slovenly, greasy, bums. I'm not saying you got to put on a suit, but I'm just saying take some pride in how you look, and you'll be surprised how people perceive you and how people play you in competition. I mean, I'm telling you, if you dress nice and you're confident in your movements, it can be intimidating for your partner, or your opponent. I'm not saying you need to get into the head games, but I'm saying if for no other reason than to give you a small competitive advantage, there you go. Clean up, don't stink, change your socks so your feet don't smell. I mean, come on, guys. Once you arrive, I like to get there about 15 minutes early if I can. Find a spot and then set up, so to speak. So you won't get your cards until everyone's sat and checked in, everything like that. Then you'll receive a pre-release kit with 4 Fate Reforged booster packs, 1 Khans, a Tarkir booster pack. I invite you to look at my other pre-release prep video where I go through some sample pools. I think that'll help get you in the right mindset. You can't really rely on your knowledge of Khans. In previous pre-releases, like second sets, when it's 3 and 3 or 3-2 in a seeded pack, I remember Theros into Journey or Born of the Gods, I could rely on my knowledge of Theros and really build my deck around the cards that I knew were good in Theros, and then just supplement the new cards. This new format is basically 5 packs of the new set, so you need to understand the new set. But anyway, you get 1 seeded pack with lots of cards in your colors of your chosen clan. You can choose your clan if you pre-register often. Most often, if you go into the first or second pre-release, you won't have a problem getting the set you want, but sometimes you can. So I always try to pre-register. I happen to be playing Jeskai. I know everyone's asking, but I think Abzan is probably the most powerful guild in Sealed. Probably should have played Abzan. Outlast plus Bolster seems pretty saucy. Now, don't waste time with the other stuff. So once you get your cards and they say you can go ahead and open them, the other stuff is cool, like pins and the little card that you get that welcomes you to the clan. That's all fun. Look at that in between rounds. Get right into opening your cards and sorting them. Time is of the essence, and you're gonna need it. Once you get into deck building, here's some tips I found from an old Wizards article, mixed in with some of my own that have really just kind of stuck with me. So you can play more than 40 cards in a sealed event. You can play as many as you want as long as you play at least 40. I see it all the time in sealed. People often play 42, 44, 50. I think it's just good math to play your 40 because you increase the likelihood of pulling your best cards. I mean, that is great. I mean, late game, you don't want to be pulling another 2-1 creature that you kind of threw in to protect yourself. You need to be drawing your bombs to win games in limited, especially sealed, with all the board stalls that you're going to face. So 17 lands are generally suggested. So 17 lands, 23 creatures and spells to make your 40. If I'm playing something with a lot of morph creatures, I generally play 18 lands in Khans of Tarkir limited, just because you really need to hit your lands. You really need to hit that 5th land on turn 5, and you really need to be playing creatures or doing something meaningful on turns 2 through 5. You'd be surprised how many games are just flat out won and limited by casting a morph on turn 3, a better creature on turn 4, and a better creature on turn 5. Seriously, I'm super serial. You need to play a variety of creatures, both in size, ability, and evasion, or keywords. You don't want a ton of 3-2 creatures or a ton of 3-3 creatures, because if somebody plays a 4-4 creature, it stymies you, and now you need to rely on a combat trick to get through. evasion is always a good thing to have on any creature you play. I will always play a weaker creature that has some sort of evasion, especially in sealed. Being able to cast, I mentioned this earlier, being able to cast creatures most turns after 2, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 playing creatures is one of the most powerful game plans you can bring to any sealed event. Tempo and board state win. You'd be surprised how many times, even me, who I draft all the time, I don't draft enough low curve things, and I end up playing a morph on turn 3 and doing nothing on turn 4, and then hoping for my land on turn 5, and then just losing. You need to also include enough late game bombs to break stagnation. The Concept Cure pre-release suffered from serious stagnation. So this is also leads into my next point. So evasion and bombs are how you win often once everything else is in line. So you don't want to play like 6, 7 drops in your deck. You want to play maybe 3, but you need to get your bombs in there, or late game just huge creatures sometimes can just break the tide, force your opponent into a 2-for-1, break the stagnation, that kind of things. Again, I value evasion more than anything. So intimidate and flying to me are like the 2 things I look for the most, although there's not a lot of intimidate in this set, right? But flying, there are tons of flyers. Play flyers. Always have a way to break board stall. So whether that's through evasion, if you're ahead and you get a board stall, evasion's a great thing. If you're behind and you're in board stall, you need to be drawing bigger creatures. So there's all sorts of ways to break it down, but board stalls are a thing. Everything in this slide is really important, in my opinion. Now, the mana curve. This is something most new players don't pay a lot of attention to, and even I don't pay enough attention to it. As somebody who's played a ton of limited, one of the areas I could really improve my game in is mana curve. You want a variety. You don't want like all 3 drops or all 4 drops. That's common sense, right? There's a chart out there a while ago. I don't remember where I posted, but I think this is what it listed out basically. 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, 6 mana creatures, and breaks down in general how many creatures you kind of want. What you want is like a thick middle and enough ramp up on the beginning and end turns. So you want to have enough 3 mana creatures so you're always playing a creature on turn 3. That's why it's 3 to 5. Same with 2 mana, 4 to 6. Now, this is an old chart, and I think in Concept here, 4 to 6 2 mana creatures is probably too many, but playing a creature on turn 2 is still really powerful because at worst you can trade it off with a morph on turn 3 and then play a creature to stay ahead of them in the battle. So playing like something boring like in Concept like a Smoke Teller on turn 2 is great because you can be attacking on turn 3, force them to trade a morph if they want, or they've taken 2 damage and now you're playing a morph on turn 3. It's all about board state and tempo. So you don't want to lose games waiting for your bombs. So you need a fair amount of like vanilla creatures that can just do their job, trade up, get you value early game while you're waiting for your bombs. But you don't want to have too many bombs in your deck where you're just sitting there waiting like, oh, I remember Indulgent Tormentor as like the black promo. It was like the best promo that was there, and there was just so many games that pre-release where I was just like, okay, I just need to get that Indulgent Tormentor and I'm going to be fine. And there were a lot of games I pulled it and I was, but there were a lot of games I was just sitting there waiting and I lost. So this is not a hard and fast rule, but just be thinking about that. Some other things I want to share with you, some nuggets of wisdom from the beard. I play limited by far more than anything else. I play more limited than most people you might know. I probably draft no less than 10 times a week. I play less sealed now because it's expensive, but I play a lot of sealed around pre-release, especially pre-release on MTGO. I usually play no less than 50 events. So don't ignore your sideboard. So many times in sealed events, I see people just build their deck and then cram the rest of their cards in their pocket. if you want to win, you need to take into account cards that matter in a sideboard scenario. Okay, know what's in your sideboard, and then don't forget you have it. So let's say during Khans of Tarkir, if you were playing Abzan and you had like a Death Frenzy, you might not want to main deck it, but if all of a sudden you get in round 1 and you're up against this hyper-aggressive Mardu deck, you better darn well put that card in there. Or you better darn well bring a bunch of chumpers that you can bring in and block, right? So I like to take all the cards that I know I can't play. Let's say I'm in Abzan. And so like all the blue, all the red cards that don't have morph cost will like go that goes back in the box. Anything that can be cast for morph or could be brought in a scenario in between games, I keep and I put it in my pocket, like my hoodie pocket, or I sleeve it up and I put it in the box so I can swap it in and out easily. Take a minute in between games. Don't just shuffle up and go to the next game, especially if you lost. Because before you know it, you'll be 1-1 and you'll be like, oh, this stinks. Don't be afraid to make changes to your deck. So a lot of times people end up like 0-2 and then they'll make a drastic change to their deck, and that's kind of like a Hail Mary pass. And at least at my pre-release, you're a Hail Mary passing to finish 2-2 and win 2 packs. So who cares? It's at that point, it's just about having fun, and I think that's how most people see it. Me, I'm a little more grizzled. I play a lot of pre-release events. So usually when I'm 0-2, I'm like an 0-2 scumbag, and I'll drop. And so my LGS is doing a lot of things to try to keep people around with like raffles and stuff like that. But usually if I'm at a midnight release and it's like 3 a.m. and I'm 0-2 and I've got another release the next day at 10 a.m., I just bail. That's the time versus money thing. When you get old like me, you'll understand. If you are old like me, you already understand. Some other nuggets is make sure you shuffle very, very well every single game, especially game 1, match 1. I can't tell you how many opponents. I started making sure I did this like 2 years or a year ago, roughly. But I can't tell you how many times I play somebody in real life, not on MTGO, where game 1 is like they're constantly getting mana screwed because they didn't shuffle good enough. And just, you don't want to start out losing that first game to variance. So make sure you take time to pile shuffle. I use 7 piles. I try to like first as a like. In my mind, maybe this is frowned upon, but usually I try to take 2 piles I shuffle up my mana and I shuffle up my non-mana. Then I like put them together and then I pile shuffle like 3 or 4 times before I even play. Then I bridge shuffle. I mean, I shuffle like crazy because I don't want to get mana hosed. Now, you can't mana weave, so you can't like put your spells in and then a mana and then kind of cut the deck and hand it to your opponent. You'll lose. You'll get disqualified. But I'm saying I will take the shuffle, I will weave in a way, but then I shuffle like 10 times just so I get like the peace of mind that I feel like, okay, this has been sufficiently shuffled. And then every game you do the same thing too. So many times I see people just scoop up their mana, scoop up their creatures, cram them together, bridge shuffle twice and say, let's go. Well, guess what happens again in game 2? They get mana hosed. So take your time to shuffle. And the next point was to take your time when you're playing, not too much time, because there are a lot of board stalls and you don't want to go to time. It's a terrible feeling when you don't get to finish your game. It's super unsatisfactory, especially if you're like 2-0 and you go to time and 3-0 and you end up with a tie or something terrible like that. So have a clock in the back of your head. If you have a good like TO or somebody who's running the event, they'll like keep you a warning. But honestly, a lot of times they'll make the announcement and they'll be like, 5 minutes left, and both me and my opponent are like 20 life, and there's really nothing you could do in 5 minutes, you know? Some other like nuggets is take some time to meet people and encourage new players. So if you're a veteran, if you've been to some, I always try to like shake some hands, meet some people. I talk to people at my table who I haven't seen before. I ask them why they don't come to draft. I ask them where they go to F&M. Try to make them feel welcome. If you're new, talk to some veterans. Find somebody who's talking to other people and just talk to them. The community is the most important thing in Magic the Gathering, and proliferating the community, especially like for myself, I take some added onus or whatever the word is to help really try to bring the community together, because I have that responsibility now as a YouTube channel that gets seen by a few people. But when I'm out and about, I try to talk to everybody. I try to encourage them, be very friendly. You'd be surprised how many people you meet. Yeah, there's every once in a while there's a jerk. Just brush them off and go talk to someone else. Talk about how much of a jerk they are. Don't do that. That's counterproductive. But you get what I'm saying. One thing that I'm going to try to start doing is bringing a friend. I think that's pre-release is a great time to bring a friend. Maybe somebody who's interested in the game, that you give them a crash course on how to play the game. Will they go 0-4, or 0-2 drop? Probably, but you get them, infected. They feel they catch the fever. They get the booster pack opening fever. Maybe they open a sweet foil rare and they're hooked for life. So many people just open a sweet card and that's how they fell in love with the game. And bringing a friend is a great way to do that. Most importantly, okay, look, I'm going to give you on the next slide the ultimate secret to winning. So if you've stayed this long, I'm going to show you how to just guaranteed win every single time. But most importantly, pre-release is about having fun. This isn't, you're supposed to have fun at every level, but let's be real here. This is not like a PTQ or GP, something like that. This is a fun, casual event. I still want to win when I'm there, but I make sure I have fun. And you should too. Don't get butthurt if you get mana screwed or, you make a misplay. That stuff happens. Have fun. Feel good about opening the set early. Maybe you'll pull some money cards that you can unload and make some money on. There's a lot of different ways you can have fun. So it's not all about winning. You can meet new people. Maybe you win a raffle. Maybe you get a sick pull. There's so many ways that the night can be a huge success. Don't fixate too much on winning. Just go to have fun, meet new people, and get ready for the new set. Now, if you're like, screw that, I want to win this mother trucker, here you go. The ultimate secret to winning. Arrive at the last second. Make sure you're running through the door 1 minute before with like your DCI card in hand. Say, I don't care whatever clan, just give me something. Then open a god pool. That's really all you have to do. Open a god pool and then you just win. It's pretty simple, right? Hopefully not everyone stay to the end of this video and only a few of you will get this super secret, because hopefully nobody at Games Universe where I play gets this nugget, because I'm basically planning on opening a god pool and just winning the whole thing, but hopefully nobody else is. Anyway, the point is, it's pre-release, it's sealed, you can only prepare so much. You can only play with the cards you open. That is the part about that quote that I like. It's like preparation and opportunity, right? If you open a poopy pool, you're not going to win. I don't care how good of a player you are. If you open a great pool, you probably won't guaranteed win, but you certainly vastly increase your chances. So make sure you have fun, you pull well. I will be recording the vlog. Make sure you check out the rest of the videos on this playlist. We'll talk to you again real soon. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, check out some of our most popular playlists, from MTG vlogs, sick gameplay videos, new product breaks, and some insane vintage openings. I upload 3 to 4 new Magic the Gathering videos every week, so if you haven't already, please take a moment to crush that subscribe button to join one of the fastest growing Magic the Gathering channels on YouTube. Talk to you later.